It's your Ben, and this is where we're at with the table. So, last time I showed you, the top hadn't been attached, so since then I have screwed it in, and I have filled them in. This has already been stained once since. It looks like the wood glue and the sawdust mix that I've used as filler absorbs more stain than the rest of the table, but I'm intending to probably sand it down a little bit. I've already sanded it a bit. Or have I? Not since the last stain, actually. And then I'll restain the top, and that should be the final coat. Then I'm going to polish her up, and then it's done. So since I talked to you, I did attach it. Lighting, lighting, lighting. Do you know what? Let's pick her up. I did attach it with screws and glue. So it should hold on nicely. Yeah, I need to get rid of that bit there. Sand that down before I put some more on. Yeah, I remember showing you around here. This is all glue and sawdust. It's really solid now. And I did that in all the areas that had a bit of a gap, like under the dowel and so on, and in this gap here. So it's really firmed up. Yeah, since I've made it, I've found that there are some places inside the house where I have put it, and it seems not always to be 100% level according to the floor, and I wonder if it's anything to do with the curved shape of the stick, because if you put weight on it one way, it might, over time, start to lean, and yeah. So, it's overall, I really love this table. It's great height. Where's my... I would go get my drink, do you know what, I will. Yeah, if you know me long enough, you will end up seeing more of this. You can have your barbecue, have your drinks, put them on the table. Yeah, it's going to be doing the job, it's good. So I'm quite happy with this already. And yeah, just going to wait until it's finished. I've got some friends that are aware of it and interested in it, so when I'm done I will take a little video exclusively of it and send it to them and see what they think. I'll probably show you guys that as well. So that's this one. Right, so you know how I said about the flat pack material that I was going to make a table out of? Here is an example of what I mean. It's got this kind of wood effect plastic on it, but it's actually chipboard, OSB, and it's got the flat pack fitting holes. Yeah, so that's what it was like. There was huge pieces, there was pieces like that, shelves, and what I've done since is this. So one piece was about that wide, so I had to double the width and have a lot of the length to actually get a table that would be roughly good for a coffee table. So this green box is what, meter and a quarter, meter and a half long. So the tabletop is quite good. I haven't actually measured that. What the idea was is to make the table twice as long in total as it is wide, and I think I've achieved that. I ended up clamping the two together and sanding the edge together so it was nice and rounded according to each side, so it's a bit symmetrical, which is good. Since then, I ended up getting the other bits, because this has the split in the middle here, because that's as much material as we had. And since then, I didn't have ones anywhere near as long as that, so this is like the shelves and everything else I could get of the same material. And I had to draw the outline of that on this, and I cut this out. So this is roughly cut, not sanded the edge yet. I won't sand the edge until I've attached this to that, so I know, like, I can make it all uniform and all sanded to the same, you know, shape, which is good. Otherwise I've got to do tons more sanding than I need to if I sand this and it turns out it's wrong according to that, you know? So this is in multiple pieces like the other one, but in the other direction. That way when they're attached, it provides a bit like a ply structure. So you've got strength in one way and strength in the other way, and they'll attach. Here is where I'm going to attach the legs. This is the inside, so this area won't get seen. That's why that's been drawn on. 1 of 5, 2 of 5, just so that I can see it and which way up it's written. So this side will be attached to the underside of this. This is going to be the top surface. So what's going to happen is Jason's going to find a Celtic knot that he likes. He's going to print it out on paper, and we're going to put it out in the middle, and I'm going to space that out equally according to the edges, and I'm going to cut out the same amount of space to put that Celtic knot into. I'll attach that image to the underside of this, the bit that I cut out, and then I'll cut the shapes out, and then we'll use those shapes to make the Celtic knot in the space. That way we're using the bit we cut out to make the knot that goes back in. And it will go on to that, because that will be underneath it. So I cut that before it's attached to that, because otherwise my jigsaw won't like it and that will get damaged. So I cut the hole and I cut the shapes out of what gets cut out of here, and then I can get my legs attached to this, and then attach this to that, and then attach the Celtic knot pieces to that, which will be inside of the hole of this. I hope you guys are following me, I really do. Yeah, we're going to have stain around the edge. Do you know what? I've done a practice piece. So this is my practice piece. So it's going to be double high amount of the material. So this is a very, very rough standard practice piece. So you got this edge. But yeah, we're going to have stain on the outside. I'm probably going to have it a bit thicker than this. This was just a practice to see if it would take at all with the resin between the chipboard. And then we're going to have stain on the inside of the hole that we cut out of the top. And then we're going to have some of the leftover bit of the backing of the shelves, the MDF. No, not MDF, anyway. And then the pieces that I cut out to go back in. The reason why this is a practice piece and why it's not got anything in it here yet is because we're going to put the shape back in, the Celtic knot, but then that bit can't be used as a table, can it? Well, we're going to fill that with resin, if I haven't said already. Jason's looked into it, we found some resins that we like, and this will be the practice for it. The resin is supposed to go into like all the gaps, so I've spaced these out with different gaps between them, so that we can have a really good test. Yeah, and we'll see if it oozes out of the cracks here between the pieces or not, and then see if that's actually not helped with them sticking together, or helped. So yeah, this will happen soon. And the legs. So they came out differently when I sanded the bark off. So this one, I actually cut the bark off with a knife, which is what these marks are. But then I sanded off all the nubs and sanded the thing with my my grinder with a sanding disc, and it actually burnt the wood. And then I sanded it by hand and made it a lot smoother and no edges, because the sanding disc on the grinder always kind of sands out a groove, like a area, because it's not a flat sand. It's kind of like it will only sand a small portion, because you can't put the grinder's head completely flat against the surface, because the attachment in the middle of the grinder's head protrudes further than the actual sandpaper. So you can only use the edges, ish. So you got these big areas where it just goes in. So I took off all the peaks by hand on all of these pieces, but on this one I think is a harder wood, and I think this was of the same stick initially. So they've got like this lovely semi-burnt, semi-unburnt, fresh look on them. They look really, really nice. And these ones, couldn't care less about what I think. Yeah, so the same, I took the bark off these with the sander without having to cut off first, same with that one. But not that one. This one I cut first and then sanded. So I could have saved time on that one. But yeah, these are the leg advocates. I'm going to cut them all to the same length, and then I'll attach them to that. But before I do that, I'm going to have to stain these guys to make them all the same color, and it's going to match with the edge of that table. And that's the idea. So I'm going to cut them the same length, measuring tape, pencil. I'm going to cut them the same length, and then I will stain them later. And then, after they've been stained adequately so that they look all like the same, birds of a feather flock together, I'll attach them to the table, well, the parts that have the holes, and then I'll be able to attach that to that, but I've got to cut out the bit for the Celtic knot first. So that's how we're going, basically, with that. After this, I'm probably going to work on the wall that Jason has in his back garden, because that crack and all of this mortar that's fallen out and some of the bricks, like there and there it is. Some of the bricks have lost their faces, so I'm going to take this off and just redo it. So I'm looking into getting myself a square nose trowel, a bucket trowel, because I've worked with them in the past and I don't have my own one, and I didn't realise that when I looked. I didn't have it. So this is probably going to be another project for later. Yeah, so that's how the table's going, that's how everything's going. Oh, yeah, and I've got some leftovers. I'm going to be making a shelving unit that's triangular from pieces left over from the material that's quite sizable for Adrian, Jason's friend. But I've got a lot of this left over. So what I'm thinking is I can make some molds so that Jason can resin up some coasters for the coffee table when it's done. I could even cut them into a slice and let him resin around the slice of this, because I found that as much as this could break quite easily, it actually looks quite nice when it's cut like this. Hang on, focus on this. It looks quite nice when it's like that. As much as it looks like chipboard, it's smooth and it's not bitty because of the way it's been cut, and it still has plenty of integrity. It would snap. Is it bending? Not really. But yeah, we can make coasters and put resin around them if we wish or not. And yeah, they wouldn't be good for flooring anything if you cut them too thin, because the flooring's a lot thicker and you can't really buy it too thin. OSB. And that's for a good reason. But yeah. So I've got a lot of bits left over and I'm thinking about what I can do with them. I'm going to make a couple molds for Jason, probably, for coasters and so on, that we can use with the leftover resin from using the table. What do you guys think I could do with these leftovers? Because I've got more than you can see here. Oh, and that reminds me. While I was helping out Life Central in Hellzoin, I managed to get myself a whole bunch of excess. So, some tree was down, and I could cut the logs that were already down into bits. This is one of them. So that's the size of it. You know, it's quite hefty, quite large. The knot at the top is probably like thigh type width. Well, depending on who you are. But yeah, it's good. It's big. Wonder what else I can. Well, you can see it according to the brick's width. This actually you can't. So actually, from my angle, this is similarly wide as the brick behind it. Anyway, perhaps you can't see quite how big that is. I'm wearing Crocs. These Crocs are size 11. Let's have a look and see if I can use this as a guide. Size 11 Croc. Perhaps that helps you get a sense of scale. It's not a small log. If I chopped it up, it would be good for firewood kind of thing, you know? Some of them have what looks to be woodworm marks. So, for all of you that don't know, if you got little dots that look like that in your wood, or even where it might have like a little bit of a pattern around these dots, that is not put in on purpose. That's woodworm. It means the wood's bad for creating stuff with. Thing is though, it hasn't travelled up through the rest, it appears. So, the rest of it should be good, but also, if there's not already woodworm here, which isn't too far from the rest, I could probably put woodworm treatment that kills out the woodworm, and the actual wood itself is still quite heavy, so it probably hasn't eaten, the woodworm hasn't probably eaten too much of it, so it could still be useful in some things, but I would have to use treatment to kill out the woodworm before I were to try and actually use it for something. But yeah, I've got a lot of pieces that are this size or smaller. Not all of them are actually this size. But yeah, finding a place for them in the garage is the thing. But I'm going to be asking you guys more and more, as long as I've got the material, like, what do you think I could make out of so-and-so? What do you think I could make out of so-and-so? So far, I'm asking the exact question with the leftovers. See you next time. Please write in the description if you have an idea, and I'll see if I can get back to you. Anyway, I'll keep you up to date if I can, and if the weather allows it. Won't I, Holly? See you guys next time. Bye.